Hello, Power Up Nation. I am Pat Council, and today I'm going to talk about 5 keys to creating healthy habits that stick. Habits that you can actually stick to, and it doesn't bother you as much. Now, I have to give you my caveat right up front, and that caveat would be everything takes a certain level of discipline, but you have the discipline in you. I saw this video, and I'm not going to say her name, but there was a lady talking on the video, and she said that self-discipline is not a part of our DNA. And that's not true. Unless the scriptures are wrong, and I don't think they're wrong, because it said that God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And when you read several other versions other than the King James version of that scripture that kind of translates the last part of it, sound mind translates to self-discipline. And so you do have self-discipline in you. And if you think about it, having a sound mind is comparable to having self-discipline. Without a sound mind, you're all over the place. You can't focus, you can't stick to anything, and that's not how we were built. And this is why we are built by design to win. So with that being said, I want to talk about or share 5 keys to creating healthy habits that actually stick. And one more thing I want to say about having that spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. You say, well, if self-discipline was a part of my DNA, why does it not come easily? You have to develop those different energies within you. You have to be willing to release them, just as love is a part of who we are. And there are lots of people that hate instead of love. So these things are a part of us, and we have power, which means we have the ability to do various things. We've been given some amazing, let's say, gifts, if you will, because we're made in the image of God. So we have all these things in us, but it doesn't matter if you don't use them. And this is why sometimes people will say, well, self-discipline is not a part of our DNA. So if it's the other thing I want to say before we get to the 5 keys here is that if it's not a part of our DNA, then that means it's not in us. And if it's not in us, how do you develop something that's not already instilled in you on some level, whether it be dormant or not? For example, if you didn't have any muscles, didn't matter how much you lift weights or try and strength train, well, yeah, you're not going to have any muscles because they're not in you. So these things are a part of you. And I'm sharing this because I think it's important that we give ourselves far more credit than we've been giving ourselves, and don't let society talk you out of how powerful and magnificent you really are. All right, so let's get to these 5 keys to creating healthy habits to stick. Now, I'm talking about this, as you guys know, I had to kind of get back on my fitness kick, and I'm back on it and still sticking to it. And I'll tell you, there are times when I think, just for a split second, I'll say to myself, I can exercise tomorrow because I would prefer to stay in front of my computer and do some things or write or something else. Okay, coach. So, and in my mind, as soon as I have kind of, I want to say trained myself or had a conversation with myself, and I said, okay, the minute that thought pops into your head, you want to cancel that thought and immediately replace it with something more positive. See yourself working out, see yourself feeling good, see yourself taking a nice shower afterwards, and so on and so forth. And so just see the feel good part in it. So this is why I'm talking about the 5 keys to creating healthy habits that stick, because I had to work on kind of boosting my own habits. And I always mention this periodically. This is not about, getting super thin or anything like that. This is about being healthy. Now, I am healthy, and I intend to stay that way as long as possible. So the object of the game is to make sure that I don't push myself closer to being unhealthy. So with that being said, here's the first key to creating healthy habits that stick. And this one is easy. It's about self-awareness. You have to first start by identifying your unhealthy behaviors. Now, that one's easy because most people know what their unhealthy behaviors are because they find themselves talking about it. Oh, I should not have this next piece of cake, or it goes right to my thighs, this kind of thing that people say, oh, okay, you know what? I would love to have some ice cream. Oh, but I don't need any. Well, just a bit won't hurt, this kind of thing. So you have to become aware of some of the unhealthy habits that you have kind of made a part of you. And you talk about them out loud. And that's my point, is that you hear yourself saying these things. So now listen a little closer to what you're saying. Oh, I hate exercising. Oh my goodness, I don't have time. I have so many other things I need to get done. So here's the thing about that. And I'm kind of using what, my method, or some of the conversations I had with myself about these unhealthy habits. And one of the things I said is every time I talk about how busy I am or all of these things that I have to do, I have to remind myself that, you know what, if you don't have a willing body, a healthy body, a body that can carry out whatever it is you want to carry out, it's none of this stuff is going to happen. So you're really not that busy, so busy to the point where you can't take care of your own health. There's nothing that's more important than that. You have 24 hours in each day. And if you take an hour out of a day, some people say a half an hour. Now for me, mine is more like an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. But the hour and a half is not all in kind of one workout session. I will do perhaps 30 minutes in the morning and then get to work. And then in the evening, I do an hour because I have more time as far as I'm concerned. So this is the kind of thing. First, you want to make sure that you are aware. So I suggest that you write down some of the unhealthy habits, because that's the first step to change. Here's an unhealthy habit that people have, and they don't pay attention to it a lot because it's kind of entertaining, and that's binge watching television. Binge watching their favorite shows for hours and hours and hours on end, and then going to bed at 2 in the morning or 1 in the morning, and not getting enough sleep, knowing they have to get up very early the next day. So take a look at your habits and see what habits are not serving you and not helping you to become healthy. So self-awareness is the very first key to creating a healthy habit that stick. One of the things about becoming more healthy or paying attention to these habits that don't serve you is that it becomes actually easier to replace them. Now, I have to say, you have to be serious about this, though. You can't just say, oh, yeah, I know what my habits are. I'm fully aware, and then just brush it off. You have to identify that unhealthy habit and then make a decision. And I'll give you one more example, and then we will move on. It's one of I love sweets, and I am super proud of myself because I don't eat sweets as much as I would like to. Now, do I treat myself every now and then? I do. But that's a conscious decision that I made, that I'm going to treat myself. And it's so rare. And there are times I don't even think about having something sweet. So with that being said, In terms of becoming more aware of your habits, take the time, as I said, to write those habits down, but not just write them down. Ask yourself the magic questions. Like, how is this habit serving me? Is this habit helping me become the kind of person I want to be? Is it giving me more energy? Does it take away from my energy? What do I gain when I participate in an unhealthy type behavior? And so a lot of times we gain weight. But we also gain other things that we don't want. So let's press on. All right. So the first one is self-awareness, becoming more aware of unhealthy behaviors. Number 2 is pay attention to the goals that you set. If you decide that you're going to kind of get back on track, or even just get on track for the first time. And listen, I know they have all kinds of different drugs out there, Ozempic, and I've seen another commercial. I'm probably going to say it wrong, so I'm not even going to try. It starts with an M, because I don't really pay that much attention to them, but I know these are weight loss drugs, and there are a few others. And so I know these drugs exist, but one of the things that I promised myself is that, you know what, it's easy. I could buy it, I guess, use it, and okay, I might lose some weight, but I prefer to maintain muscle mass. I prefer to give myself credit and saying, you know what, I think I have enough discipline such that I can do what I need to do. Now, in all fairness, there are some people who have lots of discipline and they can exercise all day and not lose a pound. And they just keep doing it and they're just wearing themselves out. That's a different issue. Okay. So absence of having some kind of medical issue, I think that we can kind of get out there and do our things. I'm not a doctor, but I'm talking about me. So back to the realistic goals. And that was one of the things I decided, okay, let's set some realistic goals and let's see what happens here. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to jump out there and I'm going to run a 5K. Yeah, I hadn't run a 5K. I think it's been more than a year, but I'm going to get back in that game because it's just kind of fun. I like the medals. I like shiny stuff. So, I instead of just jumping out there and doing that, I have to set a realistic goal. And that's the thing that you want to consider, expecting to kind of transform overnight into this super person, super physical person where you can jump out and lift 200 pounds and you haven't even lifted 10. So that's kind of unrealistic. And here's the thing about the goals. When you set the goals, you want to make sure that you measure those goals. The other thing is saying, okay, I'm not going to, try and lift 100 pounds. I'm going to lift 10, but I'm going to do it every single night. If you're not accustomed to working out, or if you haven't done it in a long time, I would say in some cases, depending on who you are, you want to work up to it. Now, honestly speaking, I work out 6 days a week, and that's a commitment that I made to myself. But I don't go like super hard all 6 days. Okay, probably 4 days. Yeah, I kind of do my weights, cardio, and everything else, stretch, all of the above. And then 2 days, it's light, kind of light, run, walking kind of thing. And then I take a day where I rest. But that's something that I decided to do. And for me, that's not really overdoing it, even though I hadn't been working out. It's not overdoing it because my body's accustomed to doing a lot more. So you have to decide what works for you, but make the goal realistic and measure that goal. And as you start to feel more comfortable doing those exercises, then you can increase them. That's why you want to measure the goal. And I promise you, they will get better. And I talked about the fact that I hadn't run a 5K it's been, I think, more than a year now. And I said, okay, I want to get back into that game. And the thing is, I can't run as fast as I used to be able to run when I was doing the 5Ks and the 10Ks and the 15Ks. Can't run that fast. And honestly speaking, if I had to do a 15K like next week, I could do it, but it's going to take me a while because I'm probably going to walk most of it. But the point I'm making is that since I have kind of gotten back on taking care of my body a lot better, I'm faster. I'm getting faster. So each time, I measure my speed, and then I add to it. I push myself to go to the next level, then the next level, and each time it gets easier and easier. So before I know it, I'll be able to run that 5K without a problem. And so this is the kind of thing that you want to pay attention to. So set those realistic goals. And the thing is, when you set realistic goals, and they don't have to be, you're competing against no one. Okay. And if you are, well, I wouldn't do that. But if you want to, that's up to you. But a lot of times when we compete, we set goals that go beyond our physical capabilities at that point in time. And then we get bored with it. We don't want to do it anymore. And so whenever I set goals that work for me. Okay. And so I don't want to get to my fourth point too soon, because that's kind of number 4. But number 3, so the third key, this one is really important. It's amazing that when people have to work out and they want to become healthier, they complain about having to work out. Well, that's very negative. You're kind of sending a message to your brain that, hey, I'm doing something wrong, when in fact, it's how we're built. We're built to move as human beings. We're not built to just be sedentary all the time. And so I have to remind myself of that at times. But so here's the thing. You want to replace those negative habits with positive habits. And one of the most positive habits you can adopt is one where you're pumping yourself up and talking yourself into working out and talking about how great it's going to feel. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I talked about the fact that, I have to put it in my mind that, wow, I'm going to have this great workout. I'm going to sweat. And then I'm going to take a shower. It's going to feel so good. And then just go on and on and on with whatever that self-care routine is all about, which I'll share that in another podcast. Because when I'm done, I feel good. And so I look forward to actually working out. Now, the other side to that is, in order to be healthy, you have to pay attention to what you eat. And of course, we know that. Now, that's kind of was an issue for me because I like to eat. Okay. And so one of the things that I changed that. So I changed my meals and I changed some of the things that I eat. And we're not going to go into deep detail on this podcast, but perhaps in another one, because I'm just giving you the 5 keys to creating healthy habits that you can actually stick to. But one of the things that I do, of course, they tell you to make out this menu. So for me, I will say this, I do keep it simple. I will eat kind of the same thing for at least a week. Okay. And then perhaps the next week I will do a menu, but I keep it simple. And I keep it simple because one of the things I realize is that when I run out of a particular food, or if I don't feel like making a particular meal, then I'm going to grab whatever is available. And usually I'm going to overeat because I didn't prepare. So that's one of the things that when it comes to replacing negative habits with a positive one. So figure out what your positive habits need to be, how you talk to yourself about your own fitness, the kinds of foods that you're going to eat, and what kind of prep time are you going to put into making these meals. And I can tell you guys right now that when you kind of get away from working out and you just grab something because you think work is far more important, one of the things that you realize after working out and getting back to that healthy routine, you feel good. So you remembered how good you did not feel or how bad you felt. I didn't really feel bad, but I didn't feel let's say super powerful and full of lots of energy like I do today. So Number three is to replace the negative habits with the positive ones. Again, your best friend is going to be like a notebook or a journal. So you want to write down whatever these habits are that you're replacing. A lot of times people say, I'm going to stop eating something. For example, I don't know what, candy, or let's go back to ice cream. Since it's summertime. So people will say, I'm going to stop eating ice cream because it's so fattening. Well, here's the thing. They go back to eating the ice cream because they didn't replace it with something. So you want to find a food that you can replace it with. And people say, well, I'll eat frozen yogurt. And that's fine. You can have frozen yogurt, but you need to pay attention to the sugar content in frozen yogurt as well. Now, for me, I do love ice cream, but I haven't had ice cream probably in a couple of years. But the thing is that because I would love to have some ice cream right now, there are other things that I've substituted for ice cream. And so I don't eat it. And I make it myself. Okay. Because I can control the content of sugar or whatever I'm putting in this. So that's the thing that you want to take a look at. And replace those negative habits with positive ones. Here's number 4, accountability partner. Sometimes we need an accountability partner. Now, when I made a decision that I was going to start exercising again, there's a friend of mine and we have coffee or tea together sometimes at the cafe, and we're sitting there and we're talking about different things, our goals and where we're headed and what we're doing and just having fun and laughing. And so I asked her to be my accountability partner. I said, listen, I need to get back in the game. So will you be an accountability partner? Now, it wasn't about her holding me accountable to doing what it is I knew that I needed to do. It was about being able to send a text message to someone saying, this is what I've done for the week. Setting my goals at the beginning of the week and say, this is what I'm going to do. And then at the end of the week, confirming I did it. And if I didn't get all of it done, also confessing that as well. But it feels so good because did I get everything done every single time? No. But let's say out of the course of 7 days, I might miss a day. Okay. And not even then, it's not a full day. In other words, I would get something done. I just didn't do the entire routine for that day. So it feels good when you have an accountability partner. Accountability plays a huge role and is very beneficial. So find someone that you can share your intentions with, not someone that's going to aggravate you and make you wish you hadn't even shared the goal with them, but find someone that you can actually share it with, and they're going to be more of an inspiration. And so that's number 4. All right. And number 5, keep your commitment to yourself. Sometimes we don't need an accountability partner, but having an accountability partner is kind of fun. But even if you have an accountability partner, sometimes we slack off because we're thinking that this accountability partner is responsible for making us stay on track. No, you are responsible for staying on track. It's just, as I said, it's kind of cool to be able to text someone or talk to someone on the phone and let them know, hey, this is what I got done this week. Okay, it gives you a sense of satisfaction, if you will. But if you don't keep your commitment to yourself, whether you have an accountability partner or not, you're going to go right back to doing things that are counterproductive to your to helping you become healthy. And so with that being said, make a promise to yourself. And this is not something you have to go and share with the rest of the world. This is something you have to look in the mirror and share with you and say, hey, we have an amazing body, and our body is the holy temple that houses our spirit. And technically the body's on loan to us. So if someone lends you something, are you going to treat it all crappy? No, you're not. You're going to promise, if you borrowed something for someone, you would promise, you know what, I'm going to take good care of that. And so why not promise, I guess, God, in a sense, that you're going to take care of the body that he gave you. Now, this is not about feeling guilty or feeling bad or beating yourself up. This is about coming up with reasons to stick to healthy habits. And I can tell you, it doesn't even bother me not to eat a lot of sweets, not to just grab something and just eat. And then I'm hungry, let's say after 9 p.m. And then I want to just grab something else. It's okay. I didn't eat that much today, and that kind of thing. And staying up later than I'm supposed to stay up, these kind of things. Now, full disclosure, I have to make myself go to bed. Okay, I really do, because I can stay up for a long, long time. But I make myself go to bed because I have to keep the commitment that I made to myself. Now, I shared it with you guys that I'm back on my fitness kick and all of that, kind of redesigning, if you will. And so I kind of haven't talked about redesigning that much, and we're going to wrap up here. I haven't talked about redesigning that much because I thought about it, and I thought, you know what? To redesign means it's like you're going to completely, I guess, add something new. You're not adding anything new. So you're just designing it and making it be what it's supposed to be. So I don't know if that's redesigning or not, but the word kind of worked for me in my head, and it inspired me to get back on track. And so far, so good. I'm sticking to it. I absolutely love it. So with that being said, those are the 5 keys to creating healthy habits that stick. The first one was self-awareness. The second one is set realistic goals. The third one, replace negative habits with positive ones. Number 4, get an accountability partner. And the 5th one, which is super important, keep your commitment to yourself. And so as I start to wrap up, when I say keep your commitment to yourself, one of the things that happens when you do that is you not only keep your commitment to yourself when it comes to your fitness, you keep your commitment to yourself when it comes to other things, and then you start to keep your commitments to other people, and that's fine. Not that you weren't doing that before, but you absolutely that becomes one of your principles that you live by, and so that's something that's very important. But I think what's most important is to understand how valuable you really are to yourself. And so when you can understand that, I think it becomes easier to stick to not just healthy habits, but other kinds of habits as well. So with that being said, you guys, that is all I have for you. And in the meantime, we're going to be back with more, but I want you to do life with power because you're built by design to win. Take care of that amazing body that you have so you can fulfill your amazing, magnificent purpose.